Welcome back, everyone, to episode 19, round 3 preview of the Northwest Conference. Today, I've got Sammy Gazzo joining me again today, and it's looking to be a bumper ripper round 3.
Yeah, it's round three is going to have majority of teams have played would almost be close to halfway through. So obviously we're 8 rounds and 10 games, but I think it'll start to shape up a little bit. Depending on some of these wins, it might separate a few teams and it might bring a couple of teams up. So yeah, I'm sure everyone's gone back to the drawing board this week and ready to go.
And it starts off in the men with Kyneton travelling to Castlemaine. So a short road trip for Kyneton, but a dangerous game for the Cannons.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure they're obviously they're undefeated at the moment. They'll want to keep it that way. So Kyneton will come in there and give their all. They're still trying to pick up a win. So they will be careful to watch, but I'm sure Castlemaine they'll be on top of things and they'll be ready to go. So you'd think they might start favourites out there.
And Maryborough get ready to host the top team in the Melton Thoroughbreds, but from what we hear, they've got their inclusion. Zach Dunmore back this week. So it's going to be quite a tough game if that rumour is true.
Yeah, definitely. He's probably a good weekend to come back in. They do have a couple of games, a couple of tough games. I believe against, we'll go through it, but Melton and Castlemaine. So it's a good way to get introduced into the team, isn't it, to play against, two undefeated teams. But they'll probably look forward to that inclusion, bringing in someone that's going to come in and take a lot of the load. And then those other guys that have been, maybe having to play a little bit out of their skin, they get to relax a little bit and play more of a natural role and have him come in if he's, what was he averaging last year? Was it 22 or 25 points, something along that mark out in the other conference there. So, yeah, I'm sure it's a welcome sigh of relief. And Melton, Melton will go in there and they'll want to stay undefeated. Great. If they know you've got another player in, great. We're still coming in after scoring 119 points. So we'll take your best shot. So could say game of the round, but I think Maryborough might be in both potential game of the rounds. So
they definitely might be. And Swan Hill hit the road down to Backers Marsh, and this game's going to be a really good one between, I think it's 6th and 7th roughly. Like they're both one win and one loss. It's going to be an interesting game.
Yeah, it will be. I think you're bang on there. Yeah, it is 6th and 7th. So yeah, no, it will be. That's how we start to see, I think, some of the latter shape up. These sorts of wins, you're 1-1. You'd want to go 2-1 instead of 1-2, and sort of keep up the pace with that top sort of 4 or 5 teams that are there at the moment. So yeah, Swanee will have to travel, but I think Bacchus Marsh will want to hold stead at the home floor there. So no, it'll be an interesting game. You think Bacchus Marsh might be able to keep home floor on that one.
And Macedon, the Macedon Rangers get to host you guys, the Mildura Heat, on Saturday night, and I guess it's a tough matchup here between 2nd and 4th. So you guys have got to go in there and prove a point and walk out there with the W, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. You can't expect to go anywhere and anything happen. I think that'd be absolutely silly. So, Macedon last year we played and it was a close game, and we're expecting the same again. So, there's travel on the day of. Everybody's got to do it at some stage. First time we get to do it. So we're looking forward to the challenge. And yeah, Macedon's sitting at 4th. So they'll want to stay sort of with the rest of the teams up high, and we'll want to keep some sort of good form and running streak going. So, yeah, we're looking forward to the challenge.
And then Sunday, you guys back up against Echuca. It'll be your first doubleheader game. How are the boys feeling? How are the legs going to go?
Yeah, no, it will be interesting. The interesting thing about it, if anything, is the fact that we play 8 p.m. on the Saturday night and then 12 the next day. So do we keep rocking through or do we fall asleep? Who knows? But nah, we'll be all right. No excuses, no nothing. We'll get a night's rest in and we'll head up there and we'll give it a crack. Echuca are going to be physical. Well, both teams will be physical. So it'll just be a matter of us for maintenance on how we go with all our players, and we'll give it a crack. And you definitely don't want to drop 2 over the weekend if you can help it. So look, we'll just give both games a good crack and see how we end up. Hopefully we're talking something good next week about us, but anyways, we'll give it a crack.
And again, you mentioned that there's probably 2 games of the round in this round, and we've got Castlemaine again hosting Maryborough. So Maryborough have the home court advantage Saturday night, but then they're on the road on the Sunday. And, this is probably a bit of a rivalry game between the 2 teams.
Yeah, definitely been quite close. But I think what'll be really interesting for Maryborough is the fact that they have a chance to pit 2 undefeated teams. So you go from looking at where you're at, they're 8th at the moment, 7th or 8th at the moment, with 1 and 2, and you end up on 3 and 2, and you've beat 2 teams that are undefeated. You got, your star player in, a couple of inclusions, and next thing you know, that the season's back on track just like that, just after 1 weekend and 2 games. So I'm sure they'll have that at the back of their mind. And Castlemaine, they'll be ready to go too. They have a bit of a weekend. So, but yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how Maryborough goes this weekend. I think they've got a real chance here to do something really good to start this season going.
And Swan Hill are in a similar boat to you guys, playing their first doubleheader game for the season against Macedon, who are playing a doubleheader as well, which makes it probably a little bit more equal compared to you guys in Echuca. But how do you see that game going?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Or it's great that Macedon get to play 2 home games in a row. I think that will definitely help them. They got a bit of space in between the games, having a late game both sort of days, and Swan Hill, having to travel. Well, they don't really have to travel. It's Bacchus Marsh and Macedon, so they should get a decent rest in. So I think that'll actually be a cracker. That'll be a really good game, having to see how both teams sort of back up after not really having to travel or anything of that nature. So expect that to be pretty close. I think it'll be quite physical as well.
And then we'll move across to the women's games, and we've got Melton travelling to Maryborough, similar to the men's. And I think this one will be a bit of an interesting game as well. Obviously, Maryborough will be looking to try and get their first win of the season.
Yeah, they will be. And Melton coming off a tough loss that they would probably say 3 points it was to Kyneton. They'll definitely want to be rectifying that. So, yeah, that will be a tough game. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how both teams respond. Like you said, Maryborough wanting to get the win, but I think Melton will probably look to come in there with a point to prove. So, might give them a little bit of the tip, even though they're having to travel.
And Bacchus Marsh are set to host the Swan Hill women. This will be, again, another bit of an interesting game. Swan Hill hoping to get their first win, and Bacchus Marsh looking to go from that 1 win to 2 wins.
Yeah, exactly right. They'd be pretty happy with where they're at, having won last week. And, Swan Hill just not quite finding their feet at the moment. So, look, you think they'll have worked on things and trying to keep getting better, Swan Hill. So, they will give it a big crack, trying to, put on a couple more points than what they did last week. Bendigo, a great outfit that they had to play. So, they'll be trying to get out of the 0 column and get a win on the board. But, Bacchus Marsh might be pushing for that sort of last final spot. So, having 3 strong teams in Kyneton, Bendigo and Melton sort of there at the moment. So, yeah, I think Bacchus Marsh will hold stead there.
And Mildura travelling with the men to the Macedon Rangers. They're looking to rectify their result from last week where they had a big loss against Bendigo.
Yeah, exactly right. Like we spoke about, Bendigo were too good. They were great. They were really, really well coached and they execute really well. So, the women want to go there and like you said, rectify the loss. But on the other side, you got Macedon. Macedon haven't won a game yet. So, they had the bye. Pretty sure they had the bye last week. So they're becoming pretty fresh, having played 2 games. You have that week off, you're sort of stewing about it. You're sitting there thinking, oh, we lost 2. Well, so both teams with a point to prove, and you don't want to fall too far down the ladder as the season starts to go on. So, yeah, that'll be a great game.
And then Sunday, unfortunately, Mildura have to back it up again against Bendigo, who they lost to significantly in round 2. But, there'll be some learnings from it, and hopefully they can put a little bit more of a defensive mindset to the game and change a few things up, and hopefully that'll reduce the margin, if not put them into a winning position.
Yeah, it's always, I think it's fun if you get to play the same team 2 weeks in a row in some sort of capacity. It's always interesting to see what does change. What we've seen so far with Bendigo is their personnel does change from time to time. So the fact that they've been away the first 2 weeks, does that, or sorry, they've had the double header the first 2 weeks, does it change their lineup? Are they full strength? Does Lavinia Cox, who we've spoken about, does she come back in and obviously make that team stronger? And then there were a couple of girls missing in our heat team as well. So do they come? Do they travel? So personnel's probably the big thing, but the adjustments. What adjustments do you make? Like you said, what do you work on? You saw the team, 7 or 8 days earlier. Um, does everyone play the same thing? Do you show your ace? Have you worked on this? Have you worked on that? So, yeah, I think hopefully the girls will want to come in and with a point to prove. But, yeah, Bendigo seem pretty strong at the moment, don't they? At the moment, so.
They certainly do. And then we've got Macedon Rangers hosting the Swan Hill Flyers, in which if neither team can get that win on Saturday night, they get the opportunity to get back on the winners list because one of them's got to win this game.
Exactly right. We stop at draws or no? We go overtime. If there's a draw, we keep going. Okay, great. That's good to hear. I prefer that personally. But yeah, there you go. So there's a real opportunity here for everybody to win a game of some sort this weekend. So hopefully everyone will get off the mark of donuts. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they go on the Saturday night and respond on the Sunday. Because are you putting more focus into Sunday, knowing that you're playing against someone who's like for like and just hoping to get the win, or are you concentrating on both games? So no, that'll be interesting. But the big key there is again, Macedon not really having to travel too far to begin with. So they might have a bit of advantage.
That's it, and that wraps up our round three preview of the Northwest Conference. We're looking forward to some sensational basketball this weekend, aren't we, Sammy?
Yeah, we are. There's some great games, some double headers, backing up, inclusions. So no, it'll be interesting to see in a week's time. What's happening as the ladder starts to shape. Do we see the top half of teams sort of stretch out from everybody else to the teams that haven't won a game now win a game? So this is the exciting part. I think that everything was a precursor. We got a bit of an idea, but now we start to see. I think the cream will rise to the top a little bit. So but in saying that, we've got Bendigo in the men's division who have a bye. And we've also got Kyneton, who are undefeated in the women's division, who have a bye. So it'll be very interesting to see with those two teams what happens with the ladder.
Certainly will, and we want to see all our spectators getting into the stadiums and supporting our teams and being loud and cheering for them because that's what we want, the big atmosphere for the players to play in. So as much as we want you in the stadiums, we also want you to stay tuned for next week when we review what was round 3 in the Northwest Conference, and it's going to be a spectacular weekend.